Okay, I think that's working now. I hope. So, welcome to the November meeting of Parish Council. There are some matters that I need to read out. And the first thing is, would all attendees please note that this meeting is being broadcast live and is part of the public record. Care should be taken as images of your surroundings and family will be recorded and transmitted live on air. Members of the public wishing to attend the meeting have been given details of the Parish Council YouTube channel, where they can watch proceedings live. Members of the public wishing to raise an issue or speak during the public participation section have given notice of their wish to speak to the clerk and have been given speaker access to the Zoom meeting. At the point of public participation, the clerk will switch on their video and sound and audio, should I say, so that they can be identified as the speaker. After the public participation, they will be muted and the video switched off. If councillors wish to speak, they must have their video and audio switched on so that they can be identified as their elected councillor by the general public, and so therefore they will be able to vote. When they are not speaking, their audio should be switched off. It must be noted that any item discussed by a councillor does not reflect the council's view, as this can only be ascertained after due consideration by the council. So that's the little bit of preamble that we have to say now. Also, because of the co-option this evening, if the other business is not completed by 9:30, we will defer all items not discussed to a continuation of this meeting. We'll start on item 16, co-option of a new councillor, at 9:30. Therefore, can I ask councillors to be mindful of this when delivering reports, etc., so that all business can be completed tonight, if possible. One other piece of information to be passed to the council, and for the record, and that is that former councillor and chairman of the council, Jim Knox, has recently passed away. Until very recently, he was assisting members of the community by doing shopping for them. Jim was a vocal and active member of this council, prepared to speak his mind, as a councillor should, on a variety of subjects. If I remember rightly, one of his passions was trees, and many of the trees on the village was a result of his activities. His passing is a sad loss to our community, and I hope that the council agrees that we should write to Shirley, his widow, thanking him for his service to Brown Edge. I'll ask the council officially to do that later. So, second item of the agenda is apologies. Have we received any apologies, Denise?
Received an apology from Councillor Hargreaves and Councillor Woodward, and Linda, I think, is struggling to get in. So I will keep trying with Linda. I'll send her another email. Okay.
Yeah. Another one, Denise, is that Councillor Owen has got an appointment with a chiropractor, which he's had to get squeezed in at the last minute. And he's hoping to be attending later. It'll be a miracle if he does, be honest with you, if he's been to the chiropractor, but still, he's hoping to attend later. Okay. Next item on the agenda is parishioners' opportunity to comment. Have we got any comments from the parishioners, please? Yeah, Chris Tanya.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Just a quick question on the YouTube live. I haven't checked, and you can correct me. Does that notify through Facebook? Because sometimes through Facebook, you can say we are now going live. Does that link to the Brown Edge Parish Council Facebook or Brown Edges? That may be useful. If it isn't, I have no idea.
You're right, Chris. I did think of doing that, but tonight's very much a dry run.
Okay.
And I didn't want 100,000 people going on and spotting that we actually totally don't know what we're doing. So I think in the future, I think that's the step that we will take. to publicise it. But yes, that's a good point. But tonight, I wasn't sure exactly how it's going to work out, to be perfectly frank.
Because for the seeable future, but for the next, I don't know, I'd be arbitrarily guessing, but at least for the next sort of 6 months, we're going to be like this, aren't we? I can't.
I think it's very likely, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Mr. McGrath.
Pete, it's only one point. Perhaps anyone else can verify this. You sound like a Dalek.
Okay.
But that's not being rude. I was wondering if it was mine or somebody else's.
Yeah, the sound is a bit rough.
Okay, I can't do anything about it, I'm afraid. I'm sorry, I'll have to get a microphone in the future. Okay. Any other items? Ian, I noticed you were there. Have you come for any reason?
Sorry, did you say my name, Peter?
Yes.
I understand to discuss what we were talking about on the telephone a couple of weeks ago, Christmas coming, and Phil and I received an invite to come and have a chat about that.
Yeah, okay, it might be opportune if Phil's not in attendance tonight, and he was going to move that we take that action, but if you raise that, tell the members of the public and councillors what you were thinking, then I think it will tie in with what we've already got on the agenda. So it might be useful if you mentioned what your thoughts were regarding this matter of helping to feed the public on Brown Edge.
Okay, I think I got what you just said. You are very, very crackly. Yeah, so about our church, Connect 2 Community Church. If you don't know who we are, we have been running for about nearly 5 years now, meeting before COVID in St Anne's School Hall on Sunday evenings. We're incorporated as a church with the Church of England, under what's called a Bishop's Missional Order, which means we exist outside of the parish council, nothing to do with the church, PCC, Parochial Church Council at all. We answer directly to the bishop. We're set up as a community church. We're very formal, and we've been meeting on Zoom since the pandemic started. And we were just talking that with Christmas coming up, we're aware of individuals who are finding it harder at the moment, and likely more to come. And so the conversation I had with Phil and latterly with Peter, we're looking for ways in which we could assist people in the village and the communities of Brown Edge and possibly Endon, because we have some members from Endon as well. At this time, I had a conversation with Linda in the school kitchen about the dinner club and the luncheon club, and I understand that's on hold. And I asked Linda whether there was a chance that could be resurrected with the school's permission and with voluntary help to put on a Christmas meal, at which we'd be willing to help that. I think that might have gone by the by now, Peter, with COVID and restrictions being put in place. So we're really looking for any ways in which we can help or cooperate with the parish council in this regard. We do work with the school, and so we did speak to Mr. Hobson at the school, and he has identified a good number of families who he thinks would be grateful for assistance, or we could provide assistance in the way of food and toys and things like that at Christmas. So we're going to pursue that. We live close to the Larkins at the home just at the top next to the pub at Hilltop, and so we'll be doing something with them as well. But this is really just to say, is there any other thing that we can be doing, or is there anything that you can direct us to have a look at? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think it does make sense. I think that's exactly the kind of project that is, people are looking for support with. So I think that's what Phil was hoping to raise at the meeting tonight, is whether the parish council could help in some way to facilitate that.
Yeah, or indeed, that we just introduce ourselves at this point, and if the parish council come up with other things in the future, just to give us a shout.
Yeah. Denise.
Chairman, I've received an email from Western Power Distribution. There's a fund, it's called In This Together Community Matters Festive Fund, and you can apply for up to £1,500 to support initiatives such as those offering food and clothing parcels and hot meals, as well as gifts and support to vulnerable children, adults and the elderly over the winter holidays.
Right. So there is support around, and I know Joe's messaged me about this to say that there are monies about, and I'm sure Keith can support that as well. So I think the point is now, what do we do about this? Obviously, this has been raised by the public tonight. It's on the agenda as a motion that we later on that we will support this. And I think what we ought to do now is wait until that comes up on the agenda properly, formally, and then we'll be able to discuss it further. So Thank you very much for bringing that in. I think that's helpful. I think it's the kind of project that the parish council supports or supported in the past, and I know other councillors do as well. So we'll see where that goes. I think it's the best way to describe that. And with COVID happening again now, I think it's been highlighted that people will need more support than they've had perhaps over this last 3 or 4 months.
Yep. Okay, that's brilliant. So I'll disappear. Let you carry on with that. Nice to see you.
Just on a second, I think Keith Lunder wants to just mention something in passing. I think Joe does as well.
Yeah. Before Ian goes, just to let him know, if he wants to stay on, both me and Joe have got parcels of money to help out on all these sorts of things, as I'm sure the other councillors are aware. So I don't know whether you just want to stay for my report, Ian, and that might give you some more ideas and suggestions about what you might be able to do.
Okay, yeah, happy to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're coming up in just two seconds, actually, and hopefully it'll be it's the next item on the agenda, actually. So, Joe, have you got anything to say as well?
I can update you in my report if that's okay.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that in the report, then, which is the next thing on the agenda. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Ian. And we'll, if you hang around like it's suggested, then you'll probably hear a bit more. So, next thing is the District Council's report. I can't see Councillor Leon. So, Joe, could you be your part, please?
Yeah, of course, Chair. Yeah, thank you. And I just wanted to first of all say a massive thanks to Ian for bringing this to the parish council, because this is an issue that's very close to all our hearts. And as Ian will have hopefully seen on the front of our latest councillor community newsletter, across Endon, Brownedge and the surrounding villages, since the start of lockdown, I've been running a scheme called Food for Endon with the support of the local churches at St Luke's and Endon Methodist Church to provide bags of fresh fruit and veg to elderly and vulnerable people throughout the community during the pandemic. And over 600 bags have been delivered over 30 weeks during that period, and that's going to continue over Christmas. And just in case there's anybody out there who is in need of these bags, please do contact me and let me know. And that applies to all of you. If you know anybody who's interested or would benefit from this scheme, please let me know, because we've got plenty of provision and we've got plenty of capacity for extra people. And just to say, the week before Christmas, I'm going to be delivering a special Christmas festive food bag that'll have extras on top of the fresh fruit and veg. So, hopefully that'll benefit a lot of people over Christmas. Also, moving on to other updates, with the measures that are being introduced from midnight tonight, obviously COVID's very high on the agenda again, unfortunately. But the district council and the county council, as Keith will say in his report, obviously we're here to help, we're here to support people. And at the district council, we have our coronavirus information hub, which as cabinet member, I helped set that up with our officers. And on the coronavirus information hub, you can find all the information you need, really. If you're a resident who's in need of support, the information's on there. If you're a business that's in need of a business grant, there's information on there. And also the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Growth Hub are also on hand to help local businesses that are in need of business grants during this difficult period. And they are actually running an event tomorrow on the 5th where they are running a webinar to give free advice to businesses. But if you can't attend tomorrow, the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Growth Hub are also running a scheme where businesses can contact them and they can have one-on-one support sessions with them. So they can have like an appointment, and their advisors will advise the business on any grants that are available from central government. So that's hopefully a valuable resource to local businesses. Might be useful actually if that could go out on the parish council Facebook page, if that's okay, please, because it's useful information for businesses out there that are struggling. Quite a few businesses obviously have been in touch with me and the other local councillors about this, so obviously it's very high on the agenda. At the district council, we also have a new chief executive. Andrew Stokes has now officially been appointed. Can't remember if I said that at the last meeting, but that's now official, that is, although it was pretty inevitable from all the stuff that was happening, but he's now permanent chief exec, so that provides us with much needed certainty. Obviously, the district council is responsible for coordinating a lot of the remembrance events across the district, and obviously the message for remembrance on this weekend on Remembrance Sunday is for residents to remember at home. Obviously, I know parishes, including yourselves, are running very small low-key events, and obviously people are being encouraged to lay wreaths individually, and obviously in a very quiet, private sort of way. And obviously at the district council, we're encouraging people to create their own remembrance displays at home and to post them on social media to try and spread some hope to people. So there's that. I'll give an update on the gardening stuff with Jenny later in the agenda, and the same for the cycling meeting. And I was just going to briefly mention as well, Ladridge Country Park has just won its 6th Green Flag Award. I know it's not in Brown Edge, but quite a few residents around here go and enjoy Ladridge Country Park, and it's one of our district council's best country parks. We're very proud that it's won its 6th Green Flag Award for excellent, high environmental standards. So that's fantastic news. And obviously, if anyone's got any questions around the COVID measures, myself and Keith, obviously we're on hand to support anyone with district and county questions. But I'm going to end my report there because I know I'm conscious of time, so I'll let Keith give his report.
Thank you, Joe. Keith, county council report, please.
Thank you. I'll try and keep it short, as you say. Not always expected, but never mind. First of all, COVID, obviously we all know what's going on. I've been sending updates through. I hope that they've been passed on. I'm sure they have by Denise out to everyone about what's been happening. Obviously, there are things like the community help points, which have only just been launched. We're trying to proceed that. I'll go on to, that's all part of the all-party working group system I'm doing. And I may come back to either Denise or Sarah and just ask for some more information about what it is that you're looking for now and in the future, which is part of this process. I'll also cover what Joe missed off his report. He was very good at meeting us at Haregate Centre last Thursday with the High Sheriff. So just to let you know, we did go round, we gave out some certificates. So both, people in the civic realm, shall we say, are very much aware of what you're all doing. And although I didn't visit all the neighbourhood groups around the whole district, I'm hoping that by coming to these meetings along with my colleagues that they will still contact us. And part of that process, of course, is the community fund, which you can still apply for. So hopefully Ian's listening to this. You can apply for a small sum of money around 100 to 250 sort of from my own fund. But there's another fund available, which I know I sent the information through to Denise. What I've suggested, and I think I suggested this earlier on, that the idea of maybe getting a few groups together and applying for the larger fund, maybe through the parish council, would be something that is exactly in line with what Ian was on about earlier. So rather than each of them applying separately, yeah, it would be more sensible for you to apply as a group and go up to about £2,500 from the larger community fund, and that application has to be in by next Wednesday, the 9th. So I just think that might be something leading up to Christmas that would be very positive and would help out with all these ideas of hot moves, hot food, help out the luncheon club, do these other things, send out another set of leaflets to see if anyone needs any more help within the village, etc., etc., etc. And I'm quite happy to have a separate meeting with you guys if you need any help or just to talk that idea over. So I'm hoping you'll take me up on that, and maybe Joe could be involved in that as well if he wants to be. So that's the sort of the COVID elements on that one. There hasn't been much coming through because of the half term from the county council, but there are a lot of other things that are still happening in the background. I'll just give you a couple of examples at the moment. There's a thing called Viewpoint apps, which are now being used by some of the carers, social care workers and things like that around the thing. And what they're trying to do is amalgamate some of the apps that have all been separate at the moment so that they all work together. So that's another idea to try and reduce the amount of work that some of these people have to do now when they're going around looking after people in their homes and also in care homes, etc., etc. There's also things like they're still going on about children and child abuse and things. So there's unintentional injuries for children under the age of 5 seminar and training that's being available as well. Now, you won't be needed that, but if there's any people here, I mean, Denise might be interested in something like that if she does anything to do with the under 5s, you know, as someone who runs those sorts of clubs. So there's things out there at the moment that are still happening. They're quite niche, but nonetheless, they're still happening. And the idea is to keep people safe as much as possible, etc. The other thing that I have agreed, I did talk about it last time at DHP. Now, I've had the email back. I've sent them an email. They've sent me an email. They've agreed to the funds, which are quite extensive, for the speed group, the school sign, and the Sandy Lane Huff Hill interjection information and how that's being done at the moment. I'm hoping, and I'll only suggest this now, Peter. I did suggest that we just talk about the school, if you remember, to have a quick meeting with them. And I know they've got other things they're concentrating on. But could we set up maybe a small working group that could look at all those three things together? And then that, rather than going over and over the same thing each time, is try and get some progress. I don't know whether you could do. Can I stop there and see if you're happy to do that at that particular stage, to set up a small working group with a couple of councillors, maybe?
I think we'll do that. We can ask Denise to give me a ring tomorrow and we can organise that.
That would be great, because rather than doing it one at a time, if we could maybe put those things together, then that would be an easier way to deliver that under such circumstances as we are at the moment. Thank you for that one. I've done the all-party working group. The wreath I gave to Peter, so hopefully, and I'm hoping that potentially something can be done just between Biddulph and before going to Leek, very, very early Sunday morning. Okay. So if I can, I will. Right. Yeah. I'd like to say hello to Adrian. I think I'm going to leave that for the time being, because obviously I met him at the cycle thing. But just to let him know, whether he likes it or not, whatever happens this evening, he's on my climate subcommittee working group. Adrian, are you okay with that?
It's a pleasure, Keith.
Good. I'm trying to arrange another meeting with Joe Bagnall, so that will be done whatever happens this evening. Okay. Community. Right. Yes. Two other things I would like to try and mention. As well as the DHP group, one thing that I have found is that people seem to be, whenever I'm walking around the streets, coming up and they'll talk to me about some issue. That's right. No, I'm sure some of you have come across that at all. So I was just wondering, particularly over the next 2 months leading up to Christmas, as we go into that difficult time, whether it would be worth having a separate virtual meeting where we just open it up and promote it as people to come and just talk to us. So it's not so formulaic as a full parish council meeting. So we used to, myself and Joe, used to have sort of community meetings, didn't we, Joe, in the village hall, things like that. And I know, Peter, you quite enjoyed attending those as well. So I just wondered if we could maybe just try that out for a couple of months and see if that takes a bit of weight of this meeting for all of us, but particularly for myself and Joe potentially, and Linda. So again, another proposal for you. Do you want me to stop there, or do you want to consider that separately?
We'll consider that separately, but I think that's a good idea. We don't need permission from the council to do that. I think that's just a good thing to do anyway.
Yeah, and it's just who hosts the meeting, that was all, during these virtual times. So thank you very much for that one. Last thing, and I only came through at 3 o'clock this afternoon. I don't know whether Joe's aware of this, but each county councillor has been given £1,000 for a climate fund to spend in the next year, Joe. Well, I assume you're aware of that. So, right, should have said something, mate. So I now have £1,000 to spend on top of my DHP and everything else to go towards some sort of climate projects. So I'm announcing that this evening as well. I'll stop there. That's enough.
Okay.
There's a load more, but anyway.
Yep, I know. Thanks very much, Keith. You're busy and there's plenty more to do as well, no doubt. Doesn't never end, does it?
No.
So next item is item 6, declaration of interests. And as we go on there, I'd just like to declare an interest in item 6B. Okay, so I'll go on to that one. It's specifically raised to explain why. Denise, have you had any more interests?
Linda always expresses planning. I'm not sure. Maybe listening on the YouTube.
She might be.
She has messaged me to say she's trying to listen if she can't get on.
Okay.
So declaration of interest is just Linda. And then I've had sorry, it's just gone from my mind. Oh,
I've got one other thing to raise under that, Denise, while you think about it. So under item 16, co-option of a new councillor.
Yeah.
Despite no requirement to do so, Councillor Corbett has declared a personal interest with an applicant on his interest register. Okay, we've sought legal advice, Denise and I, about this, and that advice said that because he's registered his interest, we cannot overlook it, which means he cannot vote during item 16. Okay, so there's no requirement for him to register a friend as on a personal interest, but he chose to do that. Okay. However, Councillor Corbett, who is coming in the meeting later, we hope, because he's driving back, Councillor Corbett has asked for a dispensation from the council in writing. This council can agree to allow him to vote if he feels this is appropriate. If he feels that this is appropriate. So I'll come on to why I say that in a second. I've spoken to Councillor Corbett about this, and whether he feels that he is able to judge fairly between candidates without bias, despite his friendship. And this is the key point here. When you're choosing candidates, he has to be able to, without bias, be able to decide which candidate he wants to put forward. But it's out on his conscience. So I reminded him of the Nolan principles of conduct in public life, and the acid test is what would a reasonable member of the public think. So I would point out that most of us know the candidates in one form or another, or both candidates in one form or another. So before we proceed, I was going to ask Councillor Corbett if he wants us to consider his dispensation. Now he's not here, so I can't do that. So we have to take it that he could, because he put it in writing, that we have to consider the dispensation. So it's up to us as councillors whether we should accept the dispensation for him to be able to speak or vote, not speak, vote for his friend, which is I mentioned on his form as Anthony Bedson. So we have to ask the council now if they want to give a dispensation or not. And to move that forward, we have to have somebody to propose it and somebody to second that. So would anybody propose that we give Councillor Corbett dispensation to vote?
Rob is coming in at the moment. Would you like me to admit him in?
Yeah, please, if you admit him, absolutely, because then it's
Yeah.
up to him now. Yeah. Great. So, Rob, you just come in at exactly the right or the wrong moment, depending on which way you look at it, because I've put to the council the fact that you are seeking dispensation to be able to speak at the co-option, because we're actually on the section now, section 6 declaration of interests. So I've pointed out that on your declaration of interests, on your register of interest, should I say, you registered on the personal interests, not pecuniary interests, on the personal interests, despite the fact that you aren't required to do so in law. You mentioned that your friend Anthony Bedson, he's your registered, he was your friend. So I've explained that that's our legal advice, as I explained to you earlier. Our legal advice was that we've got to take that at face value, and that you can't vote. But if you ask for dispensation, then the council might agree with that dispensation and allow you to vote.
Can I just when I wrote it on the form, it was in relation to business with a top pub. That was what it was geared at. To be fair,
Yeah,
it wasn't.
That isn't what it says, Rob. To be frank,
it was answer with regards to the top pub business, not him as a person.
Well, in that case, it's in the wrong place, and it should be in the financial section rather than because it's a business interest.
Right,
So,
that's a mistake on my part. Then,
that's even worse. So I would suggest that isn't the case. I suggest that it was. You put it down because he was a friend. He is a friend of yours. I understand that. I respect that. By the way, it's open. It's in the open. There's no problem there. So the question that we've got to put now, I've just put it to the council, is that do we want to give you a dispensation because on the basis that you will be able to make your vote, cast your vote without bias or prejudice. Okay, so that's, have we got a proposer for that, please?
Hey.
We've got a proposer for that.
Yeah,
We've got a seconder. We've got a seconder that we allow a dispensation. So there's no seconder for that. In which case that falls down, we would not give you a dispensation to do that. Okay. So next on that, we've got any other declarations of interest. So item 7 is approval of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on Wednesday, the 7th of October. Okay, can we have a mover for that, please? Yeah, okay, Karen's proposed, and I'll take that as Sarah seconded that. Yeah. Thank you. All those in favour, please show. It's only 4 of us, or 5 of us now, so there we go. Next item, activity tracker. Reports from activities arising from previous meetings and the to-do list we've got. Provision for cycling in the parish. We've got a report from the working group meeting. That report will be published on the website. We've got the report here. And this is the tracker. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So, okay, can I ask somebody to switch off their microphone if they should not be listening to the YouTube at the same time? Okay, somebody's listening to the YouTube recording. We've got feedback going on. So,
Apologies, Peter. I've just clicked off the tracker and now it's got. So I'll have to reopen the file if you want that on screen.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure who's doing that, but can we make sure it's everybody's mute? So I can see that. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, so we're not sure what's happening here.
That's a lot quieter, Peter.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so it looks like I've lost the Zoom.
Still there.
You're still there, Peter.
Okay, all right. So it's come back for some reason. I don't know what that was, some kind of interference from somewhere. Nothing I've got on, and so I don't know where that's come from. Apologise for anything that's happened there. Okay, back on track now, are we? So we're back on the activity tracker, provision for cycling in the parish. Sorry, the first thing is litter picking in the neighbourhood plan. We've formed a new committee with terms of reference. That's actually complete. We've got the volunteer group form for litter picking, so I'm just asking the council if we can remove those two items off the agenda in the future. You're all in favour of that, please. Okay, thank you very much. So the next item is the item A, provision for cycling in the parish. Like I said, we've got a report of the working group meeting. That will be published on documents for parish council and members of the public to see. It is a working group, it is not a committee meeting, but we will be publishing that. And I'll just let the council know that was an extremely good meeting, and thank you for those people that took part in the meeting, especially three councillors that turned up actually, so that's very good. Three district councillors and county councillors, very good. So we're on the road with that. Keith turned up in a cycle helmet, which to everybody's embarrassment, because at least he knows where a cycle is, and I've forgotten where mine is. So
I know where to wear it as well, Peter.
You certainly do. Certainly do. Okay, so the next item is storage for archival documents.
I've had a look into this and they range from about £150 to £250 depending on the size. So the next thing to do is when we're allowed to go into the village hall to actually measure up I think, is that to actually go and measure up what space we've got.
Yeah. You've got lots of space. I think the real thing here is how much space do we need from the. I understand that John's got 5 boxes. How big those boxes are, I don't know. I don't want to go down to call on John at the moment in the circumstances. He's 82, 83 years old, so it's probably not the best thing to do to go knocking on his door and asking for the boxes. But when we've got through all this, we'll be able to pick the box up and take it up to up the village hall, and then we've got it there and be able to then look to see what space we need in terms of storage space. There's no shortage of space in terms of the facility. It isn't like a cupboard; it's a great big room. So that's that. Next thing is the Hollybush update on progress. We haven't got to make a decision actually. That we were anticipating we would have the document ready for signing. It's not ready for signing. We've only just received, our solicitors should I say, have only just received the documents from the vendor. So we haven't seen that yet. It's not been passed over to us. It's not arrived with us at the moment. So as soon as it does, we'll be able to progress things. Next item is the ROSPA inspection report and fire damage to shelter. We've cleared the fire damage up. It's come up very well. In fact, it didn't need any painting, I don't think, at all. And Nigel, I cleaned it up and it looked okay, and it's fine. In terms of the inspection report, you've all seen a copy of that, no doubt, and you've gone through it in the fine-tooth comb. I've been down and looked at what the recommendations were, just to say that there were no recommendations that required doing immediately or even in the short term. There's one item where there's a swing that chains are partly worn, but they aren't down to anything like the limit. You just got to keep an eye on it. There's a D-link that it's got grooves in it, but it's not. So it just doesn't require replacement. But there was some painting and stuff like that needs to be done, which we're probably aware of. So come spring, I think we need to be having a look at it and deciding what we do with various pieces of equipment. But there's nothing urgent that needs attending to at all. The COVID action group, which brings us on to what we're talking about earlier, really. I'm not sure if Sarah's got a report on that at all, but we have activated the group again. All the group members know that we, what we're doing, and we have had quite a bit of interest from new members to join, which might help us, and that's a good thing. But again, because of the secure nature of the stuff that we're doing, I think we just don't want to appoint people. We've had quite a few people from off the village asking if they can help. I think that's a bit more of a challenge for us to do that. But I think that what we need to do really to tie on all these COVID things with Keith was talking about and Joe was talking about, we probably need to have a session with all of the group to find out if they think we've got any particular requirements in the community that we could help with. And I think this ties in with what Ian Wolvers was saying as well. And if we may well be able to find some support and help for him to actually put into practice some of the perhaps distribution of food, etc. from Christmas. Sarah would like to speak.
Yes, please. I did prepare a report, but you've sort of
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right. So as you said, we've kind of got everybody reinvigorated again. Sue is ready and prepped with the phone to answer calls, and we're just basically trying to spread the word as much as possible just to get as many people using it, because the first time around we did, via the area coordinators, we did help a lot of residents, but there was still a lot of people that probably could or should have been asking for help and didn't. So one thing I would like to do is post just a reminder of the fact that we have this service on the Brownedge Parish Council page, if possible. And yeah, in terms of the new members, so just because we're posting information about vulnerable residents in that group, if anybody wants to be a volunteer, they need to fill in the form on the parish council website. And if they aren't known to us, then I've been calling them and just getting information about them to make sure that they, I think it's just a level of security, just, it seems to make sense for me. So that's the sort of the pathway with that. If you get any questions of how can they help, that's definitely the way that we want them to go. And then yes, in terms of what Keith was talking about, I definitely think it would be a good idea to ask the COVID group, because they've been dealing directly via the area coordinators with the residents, but also the first responders as well, because they've been very, very instrumental in helping people. So they've probably got some really good ideas as well, Keith, about how we could join up. The thing that I just mentioned at the previous meeting was about the dog walking service, because that was something that previously we've mentioned, we could help you with. And just something that's come up that worried me a little bit was around the dog control laws. So now, if you are walking a dog and your dog causes damage or attacks another dog, or, goodness forbid, sort of attacks another person, then there is a prison sentence attached to that now. Equally, if your dog sort of made somebody jump and that person then jumped back into the road, there's an argument as well to say that you're liable for any costs if there was a car accident. It's really quite strict, and we know this through obviously I'm a trustee of Moorlands Dog Rescue, and we do use dog walkers quite frequently, and they have their own specialist insurance that covers them from this, but obviously our volunteers wouldn't have that. And if you look through the dog control laws, it does actually mention in there that you don't need to own the dog in order to for this to be relevant to you. You just need to have taken responsibility or be walking that dog. So I think, if people want to walk dogs for their neighbours, that's one thing, isn't it? And obviously, we wouldn't try and stop that. But if we're sort of encouraging people to dog walk, I just feel that that's a little area of concern. So I don't know what everybody feels about that, but I'm not actually sure that walking your dog is a real risk at the moment. I mean, does it justify, you know what I mean? Is it a risky thing to do at the moment? I'm wondering whether or not actually just contamination on the leads and swapping the dog over is actually more risky than walking your dog around the village. Not sure.
Yeah, well, I think that's a question for the group, isn't it? Personally, the way I see it is, it's whoever's got the dog should normally be walking the dog, and what's changed?
Yeah.
The law, the COVID restrictions haven't stopped people from walking dogs, has it? So there may be another reason why somebody needs support for the dogs, but it isn't because of COVID.
That's the thing, yeah. And just with this thing with the dog control laws, I'm just wondering if it's worth. So I think perhaps it's something that we don't push as a service that we offer in the COVID group. But obviously, if somebody does say they need help with the dog, then I've got rescue contacts, of course. But also, we could perhaps put them in touch with a dog walker. I think there's quite a few on the village.
Yeah, I think that's a good point about the insurance, Sarah. And I don't think many people realise that actually, it is a jail offence. I don't think many people recognise that.
Yeah, and of course these people don't know the dogs either, so they potentially might say, "Oh yes, I'll walk your dog," not knowing the characteristics, the behaviour, the temperament of the dog. So yeah, and
if you think about it, it's more likely to do things because with a different owner, isn't it? It's a different situation.
Exactly. So they're going to be more stressed, and that's going to. So that was just the thing that I wanted to bring up about the dog walking. And yeah, everybody's still, just to summarize, everybody's still really motivated. When we did a post just saying, we want to really sort of push this and make sure people and residents know it still exists. A lot of people commented and said, still ready to help. And so it's quite a motivated group.
Yes. Keith.
Thank you, Peter and Chair. I just wanted to reiterate, I didn't think it came over quickly in my quick run through. My thank you, that was given out, and I gave certificates to all 5 centres. I did try and make the point that it's not just for those centres, it was for all the groups around the whole district, including the group here. I know there's dozens and dozens and dozens of small groups out there at the moment that are providing all these, and what you're doing is absolutely brilliant. And I just wanted to say to you all that it wasn't just for the town centres, because that's where we went in the end with the High Sheriff, because that's all the time we could do. It is recognised by myself and all my fellow county councils, get there in the end, that you are doing a brilliant job, and we are supporting you. That's what the funds are there for to do. So I hope we can support your activities, and any information you have back to me at the moment, particularly with what we're doing at the county council, would be very appreciative, not just for now and for the immediate lockdown, but also as we go into, and God forbid, months 9, months 10, you know, I'm not saying it's going to go past the new year. You know, it's what we can do, and then how do we get out of it at the end? And that's equally as important as what it is now. I think we very much live in the now moment and not really thinking about what we're trying to achieve. And I think that's some of the reasons why all this is happening at the moment and the R number's gone up, because we're not planning as well as we could do under the current remit. And I know it's never been done before and everything else, but if you can help in any way, try and think about that, either as parish councillors or as members of the group or as members of church groups or anything like that, I will take those ideas forward and formulate it into something that I think could work. That's my job at the moment as chair of the all-party working group. So please, you know, even if it sounds like a crackpot idea, just anything at all. But my point was, thank you very much for what you've done, but also thank you very much about what you're going to do. Okay, thank you.
Okay. No worries. Okay, so I think what the top bottom of that bit is the action group, the COVID action group, should really have a session and decide, you know, what other items they want to be doing. And I think we'll feed that back to the parish council probably before our next meeting. Okay, Mr. Porter.
Thank you, Chair. And I just wanted to add, obviously I know Keith has just previously said about funding, because obviously I know counties a number of funds. At the moment, within the district council, I'm pushing from within cabinet for us to give more funds to the community hubs, but also to the community support groups like the one in Brown Edge. So if Sarah, you and the team can have a look at your costings and whether you need any extra funds. Obviously Keith's got access to funding, but so have I from a district point of view, because I'm pushing within cabinet for us to give more. Because previously we gave £5,000 to each community hub, and we gave smaller grants to some of the other groups too. So I'm trying to see if we can come up with a fair system of allocating additional funds to those hubs, and also, you know, the parish groups like this one. But it'd also be really useful if through the network you could see whether there are additional people who need the food bags that I'm delivering, because one thing I'm conscious of is there are a lot of elderly and vulnerable people who are suffering behind closed doors that we perhaps aren't aware of, and we may meet those people first time round. And it worries me because it's like a hidden issue that it's very hard to identify. It's very hard to identify those people, and so we've kind of got to redouble our efforts to try and find anybody who might need help through our community networks, really. So, because at the moment I deliver to a couple of elderly old ladies in Brown Edge every week, and then I deliver to obviously a lot of people in Endon as well, but I'd like to reach more people in Brown Edge than I am at the moment, because I know there's a lot of elderly people and I don't want any of them not getting the help that they might need. So obviously there's multiple things to consider. Obviously when we have this additional meeting that the chair talks about, we can sort it then, but just something to think about for now.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that. Just one thing that I think Sarah mentioned about the putting an article, if that's the right way to describe it, on Facebook, using the Parish Council Facebook. I presume we're all in favour of doing that. If you just have a quick show of hands that we want to do that, yeah, please. That authorises Sarah to make that happen. Thank you very much. Okay, so next item is the land at the top of Old Lane and New Lane, planting spring bulbs, a report by Councillors Porter and Sherritt. Councillor Sherritt, do you want to start?
Yeah, myself and Joe started, well, we went and had a look at the land, and Joe managed to purchase a crabapple tree, and which we planted on Saturday in the rain. Unfortunately, the grass hasn't been cut for some time up there, and made it very difficult for us to plant any bulbs. So with it being so wet, we couldn't do anything about it, but now it's dried up. My husband said he will go across and trim it, so that will allow us to plant some bulbs at the end of the week. But what we did do, because Denise got us such a bumper stash of bulbs, that we actually managed to plant some in the memorial garden as well. So so that should be quite nice. So there's a barrel on the land at the top of New Lane, which is actually rotten. And so what we have done is purchased 2 barrels to even things up. Hopefully, I bought them, and hopefully I can get some money back. There's some money that we got left over, and also Joe said that he would purchase one from his funding. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah, if you need additional funds, I could do it through my community initiative fund, but also in addition to the barrels, I've today at Proctor's purchased some primroses and a few bushes to plant in the half barrels alongside some compost. So what I've done is I've asked Barry Proctor to invoice those alongside the crabapple tree to Parish Council within that budget that you gave us.
So as long as I get some money back from the barrels, but the other thing we were going to do, because when we walked around there initially, when we were doing a litter pick, Keith, I think you said that grit bin should be further back against the hedge and not stuck at the front.
It was too far forward and the barrel was rotten. I think they were the 2 things we wanted to clean up and to cut the grass.
Yeah,
but they're missing a lot of strimming at the moment, and I've there's concerns elsewhere on that, but I'll see what I can do.
Well,
move it back.
Like I said, my husband has volunteered. If it's dry at the end of the week, he will trim it, just so that we can get these the rest of the bulbs planted, and we'll try and, if we can, move the grit bin back against the hedge so it looks a bit more tidy.
Yeah, and just to say, there were 200 daffodils altogether on both sites, so it's going to look spectacular in the spring, we hope. I mean, a lot of residents passed us as we were planting it. brought a smile to quite a few old ladies' faces as they were walking past. So hopefully that will help people.
That just reminded me, the memorial for the COVID memorial that we've got, is there going a plaque on it to give a little bit of information about it?
The answer to that is yes. And we're hoping to that's the bit of the equation that we're going to make happen in the spring when COVID's disappeared. So we'll be unveiling the plaque rather than the actual box now. So
yes, because while we were planting, there came a lady and she was saying, "What is it?" And I was explaining to her what it was and what it represented, and she was, and she said, "Oh, you learn something every day." And she was 91. She was absolutely made up when I told her and I explained it to her. So I think it is important that we have something on there as an explanation.
It'll be nice to unveil it when all the daffodils are in bloom as well. So perfect timing, actually, that is. But yeah, as Jenny says, we're hoping to get the rest of the bulbs done on later in the week on Friday, and then it should all be complete, fingers crossed, after that. But I think Denise was going to comment about the budget, I think, weren't you?
Yeah, I just wanted to apologise to Jenny and Joe because I was given the task of going to buy the actual bulbs when Joe had done the research. And of course, when I got on the website, there was some special offers and then free postage if you spent a certain amount. So I'm afraid it was me that blew the budget. So I'm very sorry about that, Jenny and Joe. And I just wanted to say, Jenny has forwarded me the actual, I've got the actual invoice for the whiskey barrels, £49.98. So I wanted to ask the council if we could include that in the in today's finance, although it's not on the statement.
Okay, that's an interesting one. We have approved for the budget up to a certain sum. So it comes to more, and all we got to do, I think, is to pass a motion at the moment when we are authorising payments. So the principle's already been agreed, and we just need to make sure that when we come to the payment of the sum, we need to say what that is. I think let's just make that happen a bit later on in the meeting. And you'll get your money, Jenny. Okay, so the next item is the seeds for the wildflower meadow. I've got a report there. We asked a local farmer to cut the grass off. Well, as soon as we asked him, of course, guess what happened? We had this most incredible wet weather, and he's not been able to get on the field to do it. So Councillor Owen is going to cut the grass with his big tractor, which will go anywhere. So we're going to cut the grass. Hopefully it'll be this next week. We've got a bit of a dry spell this week, and we will be able to then rotivate it, because it is quite dry, the field. It isn't as wet a field as you imagine. Be able to rotivate it and then get the seed down. I've got to give you some idea of what the seed is. Done some research. There's approximately 4,000 square metres of land there. We have to sow it at 2 grams per square metre. That means we're going to need 8 kilograms of seed. I've looked at lots of different sorts of seed that we're going to be needing. The RHS recommend one for that type of land, which is native wildflower, and it's annual and perennial. So in other words, the first year you'll get some, but the second year you'll get more. And I think that's the way they describe it. 2 different types of flowers. It contains yellow rattle as well. The thing about yellow rattle is it inhibits the growth of the grass. So a strange way, there's some chemical that it releases and it stops the grass from growing. So yellow rattle has to be part of the mix. And the thing about yellow rattle is the seed has to have frost on it before it germinates. So it doesn't always come in the first year. Sometimes if it's not been frosty enough, it comes in the years after. And sometimes you have to go over and give it more yellow rattle seed after if it doesn't take them. So the time to do it is like within the next week or so. Failing that, it'll have to be done in spring. So in spring, of course, then you've got the problem you won't get the frosts. So Nigel's all ready to go with it, and like I say, this week has been given a good forecast. So he's hoping to be able to get on there on Saturday. So the seed, 8 kilogram of seed, it's £98 per kilogram. So that's £784 for the seed to seed that field, and that's the sum of it. So we have to decide: are we going to go ahead with this, and have we got funds for £784 worth of seed? Because the way to do it really is to just ask Nigel to purchase that seed. I can tell him where to go and purchase it, and he'll purchase it direct, and then he can send the bill to us, in next month. So what do you think? How do you feel? Should we do it or not, or what? Speak now for everyone, please. Yeah, Karen. Yeah, all in favour. Yes, so Karen, Jenny, Sarah, there's only me, so that's it. There's only 4 of us here tonight, which is quite bad, isn't it? Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that then, and we should be able to make it happen. hopefully this weekend. Okay, next item then on the agenda is the neighbourhood plan. Sorry,
Yeah.
Jenny, did you want to speak? Sorry.
Yeah, is Rob not on? Because he is on as.
He's there, yeah, but what? Yeah, but he's following the rules, isn't he? Sorry.
Well, he hasn't got to stay out of the whole meeting, surely.
No, he hasn't. No, not at all. No, he's only just for that. Only just for that section. So he needs to have his video on, really. So that's the reason why, so we can see everybody's here. Okay. Okay, next thing then. Neighbourhood plan. So I'll just give a little report about that. The neighbourhood plan has been formed. The chairman is Phil Beresford, and the vice chairman appointed was me, for my sins. So we've got quite a bit of work to do, and then before we report back to the council. But we're up and running and away to go again. So that's good news. One item that we've got to bring up is in your appendix 4. At the last meeting, I think it was the last meeting, in error, Denise put the wrong bit of paper up. I can't remember what you'd call it really, but this is the correct one that you've been given. When it's item 9 on there, I think, isn't it, Denise, if you scroll down. The other one that was put up and sent round to you didn't have item 9 on, i.e. the committee is empowered to take whatever steps, liaise with whoever and secure funds from whoever it feels appropriate to further the objectives and vision of the council, subject to standing orders and the council's other governing documents. So we did actually discuss that, but obviously and this option was put up on the screen, but you weren't furnished with the correct version beforehand. So just first making sure that we are clear about that, I just want to ask the council again whether they approve the committee working to those terms, especially item 9. And could I just ask for a proposer, please, for that?
I propose.
Okay, we've got a proposal there from Karen. Have we got a seconder for that? A seconder from Jenny. Are we all in favour, please, of that? Yeah, obviously I am. Yeah, I can't see everybody because the thing's just jumped across, but bear with me. There we go. Yeah, Rob's just voted. Yeah, so we're all in favour. So thank you for that. So that's clear now, and it's cleared that up. Those are our terms of reference. Okay, next item is item 10, financial and governance. Okay, so electricity analysis of an instrument. Denise, can you clarify this?
Okay. Oh, sorry. Do you know, I keep losing things on my table today, so I'm sorry about that. Right. British Gas electricity bills that the Brown Edge Parish Council receive for, I think it's for the play, is it for the playground and for the cemetery, I think. Then we get two different bills.
Yeah.
It's just come off the variable price plan. So if you don't do anything about it, it'll go to 66.061 pence per day. So what they are saying is there's a 1 year fixed price plan, which is £40.29, or there's a 2 year fixed price plan, which is £40.95, or a 3 year fixed price plan, £41.61. So we just need a decision. I did ask the man for his advice. He said, definitely you need to go for a fixed plan. If you go into the variable, obviously you'll be paying 66 pence. So it's just picking whether you want 1 year, 2 year or 3 years.
What was the second year?
I'll read them accurately. So the first 1 year was 40.297. 2 years was 40.958. and 3 years is 41.618.
I'd go for the second, for the 2 years, because you haven't got to think about it for 2 years and it's not very far away from the 1 year, is it, on the price?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so it looks like we're all without too much. So that was a proposal and seconded from Sarah. And I think we're all in favour of that option, Denise. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
Back on with that. So authorisation for payments. I've got an interest in this, which I shall not vote on. As you'll see.
They're all on that. I think they're all on that. So the one that Pete's talking about is the parish news, publication of the COVID newsletters.
Yep. It's already been approved by the council. It's just that this is like signing the checks, really. So
yeah.
Other items, are you okay with that? That they were all paid?
Yeah.
Yep, certainly, Jenny. Yep. So we're all in favour of that, please just show. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay.
Peter, what was the decision about the £49.98 for the barrels? Is there a...
Right, yes, that's up here now. Yes, a good point. We need to talk about that. We're all in favour that that's shortfall and the funds is paid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're all in favour of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item is the cemetery recorder report from Mr. Bourne for November. Okay, I think that's just for information. I think there's nothing else to report on that.
No.
Could I, while we're just on that subject matter, could I just ask the councillors to have a look at the notice board when we go past again, please, and also the wall. It's a massive crack in the wall. I'm just a bit worried about now. So, could councillors just have a look at that, and we'll put that on the agenda for next month to discuss. Okay, thank you. Okay, next item then, after that, is the financial statement, the draft budget plan.
Sorry, just stop share for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is where we're at the moment with the budget that was set in, was it set in March? The budget that was set in March. And Karen kindly put in all the cost codes and put in that budget for me to start from. So now these are all the entries that have gone in since then. So what I'd like to ask really is if everybody could take this document away, really, have a think about it, and then we'll call a finance meeting to actually discuss all the different items. So if you can have a think about that, and then we'll set a meeting in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we haven't got a finance committee, so what we'll ask is for councillors who got an interest to go on the working party, to bring to the next meeting a budget for the council. Now, this is an interesting thing, because what we've got to think about here is the spend for next year. What is it? It's very important. This, what subject matters do we want to spend our money on? Because we won't be able to deviate from that. Okay, so we need to think about that carefully. And any councillor that has any ideas of what money should be spent, it should be they should raise that and let Denise know about that so she can put that in the kind of the pot, the discussion of where funds should be allocated to for the forthcoming year, whether we could reduce our budget or increase our budget, or precept, should I say, and that's all up for discussion. This is a big subject matter, and the working group will not decide, let's make this clear, will not decide how to spend. They'll just come forward with ideas to the council for them to decide of what the precept will be and what the budgets will be. We focused on precept in the past, but now we've got Scribe, we're able to focus on budgets for specific items, which I think is the way forward. So I think that's we'll find this a lot more of a simple, straightforward process really than we've done in the past. So we're all in favour of that. We do that. I don't think there's an issue about that really. We're not making any decisions tonight, but I think that's the logical way forward. So next item then is, I'll get my agenda here, is correspondence. I don't think we've got any correspondence, have we, Denise?
No correspondence.
Okay, so items on notice. Now, Councillor Woodward was going to move to provide meals for vulnerable during the winter. I think we've discussed that, and the way forward, as we've already discussed, is that we will bring that to the attention of the COVID group and see if they've got any suggestions how we could actually physically make that happen. And we've got councillors here who are wanting to help us in that project, so I'm sure we'll be able to find a way of doing that one way or another. The school have already been spoken to. I think Ian mentioned that he's mentioned to the headmaster, and if we're thinking of providing hot food, which we may well do, especially at Christmas time, then the mechanism is there for us to be able to use the school, if this headmaster's keen to do this, use the school to distribute hot food. So that's another thing for us to think about. Okay, so if we could do that, tie up the school, that's even better. It's a real win-win, that is. So,
Chairman, would you like me to apply for that? Would you like me to apply for that grant, the Western Power £1,500?
I understand, because I think Ian just messaged me here. I understand that grant finished today.
Oh.
Ian messaged me, and just as you were talking about it. So, but whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Okay.
But there's funds, I'm sure, that we can find. Let's first of all find out what we need, and then I think we can approach people to help us with that.
I think this application closes Sunday, 15th of November.
So perhaps it isn't then. Perhaps it's the 15th, and he's wrong. So anyway, whatever, we'll make it happen.
Okay.
Okay. So that's that. Councillor Lee, she's not here, but I can give you a report on what we're doing with the Remembrance Day ceremony, so everybody knows and they can tell members of the public if they're asked. We are, as you've probably seen, the actual rules appertaining to this have changed even this morning. So that's and it's eased somewhat this morning, surprisingly enough, from what were the rules we had previously in certain respects. But anyway, Linda and I were organising on behalf of the Parish Council, organising a private Remembrance Day ceremony. Okay, there's no processions, there's no church involved or anything. We're having a private ceremony. There's no bugle playing, although there will be Reveille and Last Post. We'll be using the electronic version and the 2-minute silence provided by the British Legion to make sure that there is, no infringement of any COVID rules whatsoever. If people will be required to wear masks if they turn up, and we can't stop people from just actually turning up and laying a wreath, but we will have a wreath laying ceremony, and I think we'll be able to do that without any risk to anybody. Especially as there won't be anybody uttering any words or anything. I think it'll be a very, very private ceremony. However, I would like to ask councillors to mark the occasion in some other way if possible. And I'd like to ask us if we could put this on Facebook, that we could light a candle for those brave soldiers who, there's 100 left the village, 48 died, no, there's 130 left the village, 48 died, and I think we need to do our best to, to do what people said they would do and remember them. So I'd like to ask if the council would put something on Facebook requesting the British Legion asking for what's called doorstep remembrance. Do your own doorstep remembrance. So at 11 o'clock, people can stand at the door just for 2 minutes and just think about the sacrifices that have been made. And I'll be very appreciative. Are you okay that we can do that?
Can I just say, I think it would also be nice to put that on Facebook about the bit about Brown Edge and how many people were part of it, etc.
Yeah, that was the first war. In the second war, of course, and I was forgetting the second war, over 160 people went from Brown Edge. And you've got to remember, all these people were volunteers, because even though they're called up, they weren't really, because they were in jobs there they didn't have to fight. They all worked down the pit or in agriculture. So you got to remember what they went through. Jenny.
Yeah, I was just wondering, when you say put it on Facebook, could we not put a picture of the memorial seat on as a picture? Because I was going to say, I think I've got a picture from last year with all the wreaths on of the seat. If I find it, I'd forward it to you.
That'd be very good if you could do that, Jenny. We'll put that on.
That's great.
We're all okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, and then Councillor Woodward will move to clear the gully between the Chapel Lane and Top Chapel Lane. There are a few footpaths within the village that are also overgrown. I think he's absolutely right. It isn't just this one footpath. There are several footpaths that are overgrown. And also, there are several footpaths that have disappeared off the definitive map. So I think we need to do a footpath survey on the village and try and understand why they've been moved off the definitive map. I noticed that it's not just Staffordshire. I understand that the Rambles Association had quite earlier on, was it last week, quite a lot of information in the news about this. It seems to be happening quite a lot all over the country. So I think we need to just do a survey of our footpaths and to inform the county council that, okay, these may not be definitive footpaths as defined by the county council, but in fact they are footpaths that have been used for, well, in some cases, centuries, if not more.
Some of the footpath signs have been removed, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
Because when we did lockdown last time and me and Mark were walking around the village a lot, and obviously he's lived here since he was born, he was like, that used to be a footpath, where's the sign gone? Yeah,
I think that's what we need to look at, Karen, and all the footpaths and, find out, why they've been removed, and can we put other signs up, can we put other notices up? Keith, perhaps you could help us here.
Can we put the signs back?
Yeah, well, if they were there in the first place and it's an official numbered footpath, then yes.
How do we find that out?
There is a map. All the footpaths have numbers, and the reason I put my hand up is that there's quite a few between you and Bagnall. Bagnall have done a lot of work with this, and it might be worth just having a quick word with the chairman of Bagnall Parish Council about how they've approached this. I've been on a 3-hour hike around Bagnall and only managed to do about 1/10 of the footpaths there. So, and obviously I went round with a litter pick with Jenny and Joe, and we were quite surprised at some of the things that we found all overgrown and various things. So I do think that it could be well worth doing it, particularly if you do want to get people on their bikes or walking or anything else, and even dog walking, So it's best to know where they are. All I can say is the county council have categorised them, and it would be good maybe for the parish council to try and find the best and simplest routes that you would like to make. There's category 1, category 2, category 3. The county council has said that there's really only category 1 will be regularly maintained. The others will be done in relation with parish councils and things like that. But it might just be worth linking up, because there must be a load of footpaths between you and Bagnall, the same way that there is between Bagnall and Endon as well. I don't know how they link up, but I'm sure they do somewhere, probably through the middle of Endon, knowing Joe. He probably knows more about it than I do. But they've had a lot of experience on this.
Where do we get the map from?
A good question. There is a footpath team at the county council. If you give me a request, I can pass it on to, can't remember the guy's name now, but he's normally very good at getting back to me. And some of the money that I've got from my DHP fund is going to looking after styes and things like that around Bagnall. And there's been a few safety problems when some of the footpaths have come out in the middle of a T-junction, which isn't the best place to allow people to get off their bikes and cross the road and stuff. So there could be a few issues like that as well. So, you know, by all means, send me if Denise can send me an email, I'll pass it on, and that could be the start, you know, that you need anyway, or at least help. I'm sure there's more experience here that know about the footpaths than I know by a long way.
So, Denise,
I was just going to say, I've obviously reported the stile at Little Stonehouse Farm, which was repaired recently. And if you go on County Council website, go on footpaths. I think you might have to register. Obviously, I registered as Brown Edge Parish Council, and then you get access to a full digital map, and all the paths come up, and they're all marked with the numbers, and it's really easy to access. And you just put a little, if there's a problem, you just put a little arrow saying there's a sign messy or there's a stile broken, and then that gets sent to their report department, and that's working really well.
Yeah, so Denise, amongst the stuff that you will have received from John will be somewhere a definitive footpath that we've got with all the numbers marked on. So we may well just easier for us to, and that would give us a historical record of what the definitive footpaths were when it was done. I think it was in the 70s from memory. So we've got that somewhere.
We need
got
to
that file out, actually. It's here because Linda's asked for it. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. We need to check that all the footpaths have not been removed then, don't we, from the original one?
Exactly right.
Audit that.
Yeah. So there's a bit of work to do there, and we'll have to have a look, see if we can exactly where we are and what needs to be done. I'll take it upon myself to do that. I know a few walkers around the village that would be able to help. Phil Woodward's a good one, actually. Phil will be able to help us on that.
Very well.
Okay, so that's a good thing to be doing there straight off. So next item is item D, 1.2D, and this was a bit of a interesting one, really. I was really looking to the council for some ideas and support, really. I just think that we need to try and do something during this. It was going to be, I think, a truncated Christmas period in one form or another. And I just wondered if the council thought that it would be a good idea to officially do some kind of award for people who do the Christmas tree lights to get a bit of atmosphere back in the village, a bit of fun perhaps. And I'm not that fussed about the kind of categories there. I was just trying to think of them in different ways, different ways that people could have, lights or some kind of the nativity celebration, really. And also, I think we'd be able to get sponsorship from local business and some kind of meaningful prize. I don't know what until we've spoken to the businesses, but I think we'd be able to get something to be able to make it worthwhile for people to having a go.
Yeah.
Has anybody got any views about that?
Keith has.
Keith, sorry, yeah.
We we just did a pumpkin trail
Yeah.
for the first time. And we didn't know what was going to happen. It wasn't me, it was some of the residents. And I supported it, as it were. And it went down amazingly well over 2 or 3 nights. And I suggest that potentially you could do it over a couple of weekends and maybe use the footpaths to go between the houses. Ooh, how about that, eh? Talk about using your noddle there. But no, I'm being a bit sarky. Sorry. But the idea is that then, because you can't interact, but people can go around and look at the houses. So let them design the houses to be seen from the front or from a certain angle or from the side or however people might come up to the house. And maybe ask them to give it points out of 10 or something. I don't know. But something that to help understand, it's just a way of people going around the village, really. And it worked incredibly well in Teen and Lower Teen. It was a very nice atmosphere on a Friday evening for a couple of hours for all the kids and families to go out in small groups, walking around and keeping themselves distanced and all the rest of it. And it went down really well. So I'd fully support it. I think it's a great idea to have some sort of community spirit, particularly at that time of year. So I fully there might be some idiot lighting designer around that might be able to help you out market, Peter. I don't know who that might be.
I have no idea.
I haven't got a clue. I don't know who that might be, Peter. But he might even have a chain or something.
Exactly right.
Might help out.
Exactly.
These people, the idiot, lighting people that have.
I know.
I don't know how many you have them in Brown Edge. Sorry, I'll ring off now. There we go. Thank you.
No worries. Okay, anybody got any views about this? Do we think we should go with it or not?
Yeah, I'm very much for it.
Yeah. They're all in favour of doing it. And the same thing for the Santa hunt. Really, I was just thinking that it would be quite easy to do for children, especially, and just over 3 days, because we don't want it going on for a long time, but 3 days when we can get people out walking around the village, I think that would be quite useful, really. And just on the same way we do the scarecrows, really.
Yeah. Is there anything that we can do on the Brown Edge signs, like make them a bit
Christmas?
Yeah.
Well, I think Rob's got some ideas on that. Rob?
I've been chatting to the carnival committee about it, and we were considering putting like a Merry Christmas sign or something like we do for the carnival advertising at the top and bottom of the village, and maybe one at Hilltop. Just say Merry Christmas from Brown Edge or whatever the words need to be. Potentially, if we can get any connections into the street lighting or whatever, then we could put Christmas lights on them. Keith.
Come on, green spirit. We should be generating our own electricity. Talk to Joe. Some district councillor knows a bit about district green and stuff. I don't know who he is, but anyway. I'm sure there's greenways and batteries and things like that. But anyway, you made me go cold when you said connect to the electricity of the county council. I just shivered. All over and decided I wasn't quite there. But there you go. Anyway, right.
Solar ones. Solar.
Right.
It'd be really nice because everyone's had pretty much everybody's had a rubbish year. It'd be nice to just try and make things feel a bit nicer. I think around the Brown Edge signs is a great idea, and then obviously, hopefully, people will get involved with, their house. Is the Santa thing coming round, Rob? Do you know yet?
It all depends on if the sleigh is built. It depends on the round table that Eddie Sims heads up.
The Rotary,
the Rotary Club. So it depends on. If the sleigh's built, then yes, we'll take it round with Santa on, and we'll put the music on and just wave as we go around rather than stopping. So I guess work in progress at the minute, and what we can do and what we can't do. So, but even putting Santa on the back of a truck or whatever, like we do with the carnival, make it a bit of a sleigh out of a truck. But we should be able to do something like that. That'll be the week before Christmas, I would have thought.
Yeah, because I think the children will be a bit devastated. They love that, don't they?
Yeah. If there's one thing that we ought to be doing, making sure it happens at Christmas, is Santa going around the village. I really do, because I mean, you know, it's only because I've got a grandchild now, as I've actually even taken any interest in it. But I've got to be honest with you, if there's one thing that makes you cry, and it's as feeling as that, is the seeing the kids coming out and talking to Santa. It is the most incredible thing that you do. And you know, let's not forget how important it is for the children of the village. And we've had a pretty crap year, so let's see if we can make that happen one way or another.
Yeah. Is that a volunteer for Santa, Peter?
It sounded like it, didn't it? Definitely sounded like it. And
I think you want somebody who's had COVID and like got a COVID pass or something. That'd be a good one. Anyway.
The other thing that's happening nationally is I don't know who it is, but they're saying that they want to do a bell ring at 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve, and again just to sort of, you know, generate some Christmas spirit. And so is that something that we could just push even just on the Facebook page?
Right. Okay. Let's have a think about that. Yeah, I'm sure there's something we can do that.
Thing, just ringing a bell at 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve, so the children can hear it as they're, you know, getting ready for bed and things.
A cracking idea that is. I think we should support that and publicise it as much as we can. Okay. Cracking. So, yeah. Keith.
Just to you know, fascinate you guys even more. Being an ex-campanologist, we used to ring in the Christmas service at 2 churches where I came from, and then we used to do the New Year. Now I'm not suggesting, you know, but that's the normal campanology calendar of these, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
But that's what we used to do, and there used to be a few beverages involved in some of the ringing, but I was far too young to partake in that at the time, obviously. You could certainly do that and change the time, and you know, just liaise with how many churches in your area have got bells. That's the
thing. Do we have bells in the church?
We do, but we've also got handbells as well.
And
you can do handbells.
Does anybody ring them?
I was going to say, is there anybody?
Oh no, I've let the
this
cat out the
meeting?
bag now.
Well, there's you, Keith, but there's somebody else as well. It used to be bell ring.
Peter.
Oh,
Yeah.
Peter, listen, we've got too many connections,
Yeah.
Peter. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
you too.
So, strangely enough, I hold a world record bell ringing. So there you go.
Here we go.
We'll save that for another day. Okay.
Was that a peel or a call to peel?
Mm-mm.
Can
was
the
the peel.
church bells be rung then on
Very good.
Christmas Eve?
Yeah, well, I mean, we used to ring them until just turned midnight, Christmas Eve. We used to, but the main event was Christmas morning. You know, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock. But that's not for us. That's the church, isn't it? And of course, at the moment, I think that's a difficult thing because Fred just passing away.
Was he
Oh,
passed
isn't it?
away?
Yeah. So that's not an easy situation to broach with them at the moment, I think. But yes, I think the idea of having a 6 o'clock bell ringing, I think, is a very good one, Sarah. And I think if everybody else in the world's doing that, we ought to, in the UK is doing that, we ought to help to publicise that for Brown Edge. So I'm keen on that. Joe.
Thank you, Chair. I forgot to mention there's a project that Keith might be aware of as well called Luke for a Light that's running across Staffordshire. The county council are involved in it, and what they're doing is they're encouraging children to create their own lanterns to put outside their homes over the festive period. And I think also I think it might be for bonfire night for tomorrow night, I think, as well. So but yeah, it's a project they're promoting online. There's a Facebook page called Luke for a Light, and there's a lady from the county council who's running it who contacted me the other week asking to promote it on Facebook, and I've let her promote it on the ending pages. But I mean, I can forward you the email and the information unless Keith's got some information too. But if you look on Facebook, there is a page promoting it all called Luke for a Light if you want to have a quick look.
Okay.
Joe, you beat me on that one. I'll leave you to be the expert on Look for a Light.
Okay, so we will investigate that and come back to the council with with options. It may well be, because of time scales, it may well be that we will be able to do that between meetings. Okay, so
Well, I volunteer to
see.
help with
yeah,
anything.
okay, yeah, that's great. Let's get involved. Rob.
Would it be possible to put a budget together for the signs, or just to agree a pre-budget to get any signs?
Right. I think the answer to that is let's find out how much it is, and then if we have to, we can organise that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think.
I was hoping to price tonight, but unfortunately, not coming to me. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So thank you for that. So we'll make something happen around both those subjects. Okay. Thank you. So next item then on the attention of all local authorities is matters for the district council. Have we got anything for the district council? No. Got anything for the county council? What we've already discussed? No. Okay. Thank you very much. Then we're moving now on to planning applications on related issues. So we've got one plan in front of us for Mr. A. Beardmore, which is land at Double Gates. This is the plan coming up. Mr. Neezy's got
Chair, I'm just going to disappear and pretend I leave the meeting. I'll come back after. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Okay, so we'll have a look at that. You should have all looked at this beforehand. The proposed development for retention of 2 stable blocks comprising of 3 stables and 2 tack rooms. Okay, so in terms of planning, when I attended the planning briefing from SMDC there's a special briefing about stable blocks. The briefing was that stable blocks are not normally required to have planning unless the planning officers are concerned that they may be of a size or a construction that might lead people to believe that there was going to be a future application for a dwelling from on there. Okay, so I think this is all about construction. Is it made of wood or is it made of, brick? So, Mr. Duncan, land at Double Gates Nursery, Brown Edge. Now I understand this has already been built. I haven't gone down to have a look at it, but that's what I've been told. Don't know if that's true or not. Yes, the stables were erected in 2019.
Has there been any local reports against the buildings that we know of? Or?
Not as I know of, but I suspect that's what's prompted this.
Yeah, the timber.
Yeah, so the building is constructed of timber, encompassing a typical stable design with front overhanging canopy. So if it's made out of timber, according to their brief to the Area Parish Council Association, or Area Parish Council, whatever it's called, was that that shouldn't have any problem at all in terms of getting planning. Okay, so why it's been presented now, I don't know. It shouldn't need planning, in my opinion. That shouldn't, bearing on what they've briefed me on previously. So, I don't know.
It's an agricultural shed, isn't it? So I don't know.
And it's away from other properties. So I don't see as it needs planning permission, but they've put planning permission in because they've been told to. So, it's left with us.
I just propose that we pass it forward to the planning with no comment.
I second that.
Yeah.
Okay, 3. Okay, yeah. Okay, we're all in favour of doing that then?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Next item is matters pertaining to issues in the parish to be put on the next agenda. Do we have any matters that we want to bring up at the next parish council meeting? No. Okay, thank you very much for that then. Next item is item 16, vacancy on the council. So we've taken advice again. Our legal representative this month has earned his corn. The clerk has taken legal advice regarding the voting procedure to co-opt councillors whilst using Zoom, because it's got particular challenges. The actual vote has to be by secret ballot, as all elections to public office are. It also has to be a secret from other councillors as well, so a show of hands is not acceptable. It also has to satisfy our standing orders, which I've checked the process against, and it works. In order to facilitate this using Zoom, after the candidates have had their opportunity to speak, we will be asking members of the press and public, and that includes the candidates themselves, to leave the meeting, and live stream will be suspended. Councillors will vote by a private message to the clerk via Zoom. So you need to look to find out where private messages are on Zoom here, and you send a private message to the clerk indicating who you'll be voting for. If you want to abstain, you can do that, but you have to say that you are abstaining. So you type in abstain. Okay, so just the surname of each of these people would be perfectly adequate, indicating that you are voting for that person. Okay. So we will renew the live stream when the clerk is ready, and the successful candidate will be announced and the meeting closed, or if all the business has not been transacted, adjourned until whenever. So I think we should be okay. We've got all the business done. So we'll renew the live stream when the clerk is ready. Okay, the candidates will be written to confirming the decision. Okay, in case they've gone off and can't get back on again. So your live stream is the way back, because it can't get back in to the Zoom meeting, or you possibly could not get back into the Zoom meeting. Okay, so if you want to see the rest of the meeting, it's through the live stream. So that's the way that we're going to do this. So first thing is the applicants will be asked to do a short presentation to the council. And if they don't want to do that, the clerk can read the application present. Now, I just have to say one other thing here, because this is being live streamed, there may be personal information that the candidate is going to read out. Now, the candidate is giving that information, not the council. The council is not issuing that information, the candidate is. So as far as GDPR is concerned, we're clear with that respect. So if Denise is asked to read it out, okay, and she's got a copy of the document, then she won't be able to give all the details. Some of the details will be redacted. Okay, now this gets a bit silly, because even the name of the person who's applying GDPR, that's personal information. Okay, so it's a bit difficult. So I'd appreciate it if both Anthony and Adrian would actually say these things themselves about themselves. It helps immensely. So could I just then start by saying to take an alphabetical order, if Adrian could give his kind of précis of why he wants to go on the council, etc., if that's possible. And I'll just switch you, what's it on for a second. There we go. Hang on, more. That's the start video, so we can see him speaking. It's in the dark. There we go. Got him. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Good evening, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to give you an overview of why I'd like to join the parish council. I've lived in Brownedge for 12 years now, so I've not been born and raised here, but I have had family live here for a very long time. And I've also been involved in and around the village for a number of years. So I attended Endon High School, and as a result of attending Endon High School, had a lot of friends that lived in the area, and so spent a lot of my childhood here. The main reason that I really want to join the parish council is that I'm quite passionate about how villages develop in the future. And for me, that's very important. One of the main reasons that we moved to Brownedge in 2008 was that the beloved village that I grew up in, Milton, had actually been by that time consumed by the city. And it's very important when looking at villages and village life that whilst trying to develop that village and develop it in a sustainable way, that we actually make sure that it retains its identity. And that really is key. And that's one of the main reasons that I feel passionate about joining the parish council, to try and help to drive that agenda forward. I have held roles in the automotive industry since leaving school, and more recently, over the last 5 years, I have been responsible for driving a zero emission and sustainable agenda for our business. So I've worked on a number of working groups, working with central and local government to try to see how we can provide low carbon, sustainable and environmentally friendly transport solutions. And with a passion that I have myself for walking and cycling, I'd hope that I could bring something to this parish council in terms of not just my hobbies and passions, but also linking the work that I've also done in the past and up till recently with a lot of larger organisations and local authority bodies. So for me, it really is about helping to try and build a better community, to build a better village, but actually to help us to move forward in a way that we don't get left behind. So if there is innovation, we talked about silly things just about using solar panels to power our Christmas lights, but why not? Why shouldn't we move forward in a sustainable way as a village, much the same as the bigger towns and even the cities? So that's my little speech. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Adrian. That's helped us immensely, I'm sure. Anthony, could you tell us a bit about yourself, please? Just put your thingy on. Start your video. There we go.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you and put my case forward as the reason why I'd like to become a parish councillor. My name is Anthony Bedson. I'm 51 years old and currently live at Hilltop, Brownedge, with my long-term partner. We have 2 daughters between us, but only one currently lives at home. Our eldest daughter strives for her own independence and has a property of her own. I was born in Brownedge in our family home on Stonehouse Lane. My father still resides there, but sadly my mum passed away earlier this year. Although I moved away from the parish for a while, I've always maintained strong connections with the parish through family, close friends and associates. The carnival has played a big part in my life as I have contributed for many years as a committee member. Planning and organisation of not only the carnival but other community events such as the harvest auction, Santa sleigh and other village festivities including the Christmas lights. Throughout all these events, monies raised have all gone to supporting the community. For example, first responders, luncheon club, football teams, Busy Bees, brownies and guides, to name just a few. I find this commitment very rewarding and wish to continue moving forward. I currently work for Sovereign Plan Services Limited as a business development executive, and I have been in this role since August 2012. My role is heavily based on introducing different businesses to promote economic growth for the company. Additionally, I am a director of Cahale Limited, who own and operate the lease at the Top Pub, Brownedge. During my time living in and contributing towards the village, people have found me approachable, conscientious, trustworthy and honest with my opinion. This combines with my business ethic and my commitment to networking to make me a good candidate for the parish council. I can offer a good level of commitment and enthusiasm to the role and approachable nature for the parishioners whilst generating and developing village values for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony. I've got to say that it's a shame that we've got two candidates here and there's only one position. And it's a good thing that the council has elections, although it's difficult for people who don't get elected. But it's the right thing and proper thing that a council should do. And I'm glad we're not in the situation of many other councils where, in fact, I can tell you the majority of councils in England that don't have a full complement of councillors. So I thank you both for standing, and appreciate that. And I hope that even if you're not successful on this occasion, as one of you won't, that you won't take the hump with the council and still contribute to our community, because both of you do already, and I'd like that to continue. And so I would appreciate councillors really taking the time and thinking this through carefully. So with that then, I would like to move that the council would resolve to use section 1 of the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act of 1960 to include members of the public from the vote relating to this co-option. So we will mute and switch off everybody. So sorry, we will mute. Yes, we will have to exclude everybody from the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay then. Cheers then.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheers.